Probably around 28. I
Okay.
think around 28, because I'm 60 now. So I was around 28 years old,
Where,
27, 28 years old.
where were you living?
At that point, I was living in Southeast Atlanta in McDonough Heights apartment. Uh, my ex-husband and I had just moved there. Well, we hadn't moved there. We actually lived there about 7 years before we moved here. I've only lived three places in my life. I originally was born and reared in Southwest Atlanta, and then we moved to when I moved out from my parents' home with him, moved to Southeast to McDonough Heights, and then I moved here, and that's where I've been.
Oh,
As I told you over the phone, it's been so long ago. It's been 30 something years. I can't remember exactly because I don't know if someone from work told me about the program, or if it would either have been from someone at work or from a newspaper.
where
So
were you
one of
working
the
at the time?
worked for Emory at the time. It was Crawford Long Hospital. It's now Emory Midtown.
Hmm.
So I could have heard from it from somebody there. I fell in love with this house from the time I saw it. It was just something about it. I liked the point that, or the fact that, like I say, the bus service was there. You had the post office and the hardware store, and everything was just sort of like right there if you needed it. It was rough. It looked pretty bad when I first saw it. Uh, but at that point, it was going to be mine, and I didn't care what it looked like. But yeah, it was pretty bad when I first walked in and saw it. But they had this huge backyard, and in my parents' house that I grew up in, they had a huge backyard, and it sort of reminded me of home. And after staying in that apartment for 7 years, I was like, I need to get back. So, and that was what I didn't like about the house on East Lake, that it did not have a lot of space to it. It was the yard and everything was not that big. Like I expected to stay here forever. I really want, this was home for me, and my kids are having a problem with me moving now because we're not moving. That's the only home we really know. But uh, probably if I was still working my regular job, I would not consider moving. As a matter of fact, uh, like I said, I never intended to move. It was not a preference. So it's a necessity. So, yeah.
What's going to happen to your property? Who'd you sell to?
One of the as-is people, we're selling to them because, like I say, right now I'm not working a regular job. Uh, the taxes are enormous for me, and the house needs repair, and I can't afford to do it. And the house, this is just too nice a house to just let it go back to what it was when we moved in.
I was visiting a friend on the other side of Decatur, and there was a knock at the door, and it was a codes enforcement officer who was coming to note that that house did not have a certificate of occupancy, and he, in passing, mentioned the homestead program, and I was excited about that, being as I was a renter. So I went home and told my wife she needed to call the city of Decatur and find out what was going on, and we pursued it and got ourselves on the waiting list. Well, my father's very good advice at the time was all these people are going to be wanting huge houses. This is your first house, and the smaller it is, the less you will have to spend to have repairs done. And so he encouraged us to look at a small house, and this house was under 800 square feet at the time and had been empty for 7 years, but had a new roof installed right before it became empty. None of the glass was broken, so it was actually in pretty good shape. So he encouraged us to look at this one. My wife had to work the day that we had to go sign for the house, and I didn't have a car. I rode the bus over, and I knew it was a dollar house, but it didn't occur to me that I had to give them $1, and I had to give them my bus fare to pay for the house and hitchhike back home. So I miss some of the neighbors that were here, notwithstanding economic differences, racial differences, historical differences. Many of the people that lived here that have been forced out by the gentrification were good people, and I have issues with that too. I mean, that's more global. I don't think people need thousands of square feet. I sometimes am a little appalled, and this infill housing that you're seeing, it doesn't fit the look of the neighborhood. It really doesn't. I mean, I think the city's happy because it increases their tax base, but I feel like it diminishes the sense of place for the neighborhood. I mean, this house is ultimately a tear down by definition, given what the neighborhood's done.
The truth was, you stayed on your side of the track and didn't come over here. All of us stayed in one area, a little small area, and that's where we stayed. It was okay to come over here and rake yards from sun up to sundown, but at sundown, you had no business over on this side of the track. Yeah, I worked for the Cap Housing Authority, Decatur Cap Housing Authority, and I came in when I finished school in 1971, yeah. And David Smotherman gave me a job, and he sent me to Atlanta Housing Authority, and I was given a job as a relocations officer.
When did you first learn about the Dollar Home Program?
As soon as it started. And of course I went and asked for, hey, can I put my name in the queue? Mom said, I don't see why not. So I threw my name in the queue.
Were
I
you
was
among
pulled
the
as
first?
no.
Okay.
I was pulled as an alternate. And some people bagged out, which left me open. And the house I have now, it was really run down, and nobody wanted it.
Can you describe it when you first saw it?
It was a contractor had it who had not done anything to it, who had dug down in the basement and dug below the water table, which means that water was coming in the basement, so nobody really was interested in it. But God was good, and when they left it there, and I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? You see, and I got the house, and we spent $13,500 repairing it. $13,500. I bought it for $1. $13,500 at 3% interest.